Welcome back to episode 2 of Sippin With Sin. Thank you all so much for tuning in and listening to us again this week. It's the second episode. First episode was a lot of fun, and we're going to keep the good times rolling. Welcome back, our esteemed colleague, the one and only Christian. Christian, say hello.
How's it going, everybody? It is so good to be back. Thank you for listening to me ramble on and on and on about Dexter last week. But I have something new to talk about this week.
Oh, boy.
It's going to be great.
Oh, I can't wait for you to hate on another probably show that I really like. Just crushed my spirit last week. Thank you so much.
Of course.
But this week we have yet another lovely gentleman here, a scholar, if you will, joining us on the podcast. Welcome the one and only Papa Ding.
What's up? Thanks for having me on. Scholar and gentleman, I appreciate you lying to these good people.
Oh, no. All truths. Nothing but truth for you, sir. But
I'm
if you will...
you're talking about all this stuff we got.
Oh, yeah. We got some good topics today. If you will, tell the people a little bit about yourself. Just kind of give a little brief introduction so they know who you are.
You know, I'm stuck here in Middle Tennessee with you two peeps. I'm a tattoo artist by trade, so people pay me to carve into their skin for some odd reason. And, I got all the kids and drawing all the time, and that's really it. Comic book, movie aficionado. And I try to get the occasional drink in, just like you.
Heck yeah. Speaking of which, I've got my beverage for the day. I have a nice little old-fashioned here in this sweet glass. It's Maker's Mark glass with, like, the wax on it. It's pretty dope. Pretty dope. Nice little whiskey sipping beverage for a podcast. Works, right?
What'd you mix it with? What
Woodford Reserve was the mixing whiskey today. We mixed it with all the bitters and stuff. All the goodies.
No, it's funny. Old fashioned is my favorite drink of all time.
Oh, for sure. That's my favorite cocktail. I love old fashions.
I should have said my favorite cocktail. Like, I don't want listeners thinking like I'm just pounding whiskeys all day, because it's not the case. But as far as cocktails go, that is absolutely my number one favorite. If I go to any place and their old fashioned is trash, I'm absolutely done. I gotta leave.
Oh my god!
Like, I can't be friends with y'all.
Exactly.
All right, but episode 2. Again, if you are tuning in for a repeat performance, thank you so much for checking out episode 1 last week, and hopefully we'll continue to gain your listening. But what has everybody been watching, listening to, gaming, reading, or whatever this week? What has been your focal point on all that?
You started off, sir. What have you been watching?
What have I been watching? I have took a spiral down the rabbit hole. And yeah, I have been watching Pam and Tommy. I've got caught up in that on Hulu.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, I have seen more wiener.
Isn't there a robot dick in that?
Yeah, I've seen more wiener and dong than I think I cared to see.
Oh my god!
I will say though, I don't remember the guy's name, and you guys probably do, but it's the actor from
Tommy
Winter
Lee.
Soldier is playing Tommy Lee.
Oh.
Sebastian something.
Oh, Sebastian Stan.
Yes, and he's doing a great job.
Mark Hamill lookalike. Gotcha.
Yeah, they're doing the actor and actresses are doing great with the show. It's actually really interesting. I didn't realize how much crap that went into that. Like, I mean, growing up, I remember the tape. Like, I remember hearing about it and all that stuff, but I didn't realize the amount of stuff in it, like, that took place to, like, with this whole ordeal with them. But yeah, there's a lot of wiener in it and stuff, and so I wasn't really expecting that when I started, and then me and my wife were just like, "Oh, okay, well, that's there." So yeah,
I've heard a lot of talk about that robotic dick in that show.
Oh yeah, it's interesting. Like, yeah.
I didn't know that was a part of the show, and it doesn't necessarily make me want to watch it more. This is what I'll say.
Lying.
That's why I haven't seen it.
That's why you haven't seen it, right? So, like, I mean, whatever, it's out there, but like, I haven't watched it because that's a Hulu exclusive, right?
I think so.
Yeah, so I don't exclusively watch a whole lot of Hulu. I'm gonna be honest with you. I was on Hulu not too long ago because I realized that you could watch like Buffy the Vampire Slayer on there, and then they moved that to Amazon recently, so I don't need Hulu right now. So I'm not typically watching it.
But yeah, it caught me off guard because I had a conversation with somebody last weekend about it. I was like, oh, they're not going to show anything. And they're like, yeah, it's Pam and Tommy. They have to. And I was like, no, it's on Hulu. They're not going to show stuff. And then first episode, he's like, do you want to see it? Bam. And I was like, whoa. Okay. I was wrong.
It's a robotic one. It's a robotic wiener in the show.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a scene that's pretty wild. I haven't finished it yet. I think the finale's this week, though, or something, maybe. I don't know. I'm not there yet, though.
I want you to explain that to me, but I also don't want to know.
Just watch it. You just need to see it.
Okay.
Just watch it, Chris.
All right, I'll take your word for that.
Okay. All right. So let's go. Papa Ding, what have you been watching, reading, listening to, whatever this week?
Well, man, I'm all over the board. So I just finished one of my favorite series I might have ever seen. I just say that because it just ended, but I enjoyed it so fucking much. Peacemaker. Have y'all watched Peacemaker?
Yes.
Oh yeah, we talked about that on the last episode.
It's fantastic.
Did you? Because it's that good. So okay, y'all have already talked about that, but yeah, I finished that. That was amazing, and I'm almost done with the show that's kind of older. Ray Donovan is my little drama fix I've been watching.
Ray Donovan. That's with the guy from Scream, right? And
Yeah.
he was in the Wolverine movie.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it's real good. I forget how to say his name, but it's really good. Yeah, that's it. Good job. That's a hard one to remember. But that's it's almost over 7 seasons, so it's been a long watch. I'm kind of ready for it to be over. So it's not as good as other shows, but once you start something like that, you got to finish it. And I'm reading Invincible. I got all the omnibuses, so I'm working my way through that right now.
Listen. Okay, I know that you're new, and we got to be super respectful, and I'm going to be, but I got to say this: Invincible is one of the single greatest superhero comics of all time. And
I thought you were going to say the worst.
No, it's the best thing Robert Kirkman will ever do. Not has ever done, will ever do. And I know that a lot of people are like, oh, but Robert Kirkman did The Walking Dead. And I'm like, yeah, zombies were cool for a little while, but like the comics started to get a little boring, and comics like that get boring for major reasons. One of the main reasons being this. When you have a comic like The Walking Dead going on and the main characters there and they're doing the Rick thing, like there's only so much a person can take. There's only so much bad that can happen to a character before you just kind of like give up and lose all hope in that character. And that's kind of what happens with stuff like The Walking Dead. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't dislike The Walking Dead at all. I don't really care for The Walking Dead show, but the comic is great. At least the first like half of it is amazing, and then the second half starts to dwindle, then it starts to get good again, then it dwindles and it gets good again, then it's over. But as far as Invincible goes, man, that comic gets wordy and there's a lot going on, but I love it. I never got bored. I was never confused. The only feelings I ever felt reading that comic were like excitement. I was afraid for characters. I remember to myself like, oh my god, holy shit. I remember thinking those words. And I don't want to ruin it for you, but man, you were in for a fucking ride, brother, and I can't wait for you to get there.
I'm enjoying it. I'm halfway through the first omnibus, and it does start to get a little wordy, but I've heard so much about it, and I'm reading Oblivion Song also, which is really good.
It is really good. Yeah, I haven't finished that.
It's I think the final issue just came out like this past week. But that's where I'm like, come on. And I knew he wrote The Walking Dead, and everybody always talks about Invincible. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try this. I watched the show on Amazon only because somebody told me, don't worry, it doesn't ruin the whole series. It's only like the first little bit of the first book. So I watched the whole season on Prime, and now reading it, like you said, it does get a little wordy, but it's very enjoyable and it flows easily. A lot of comics, it gets a little confusing and they lose me when it gets a little confusing. Then I revert to just looking at pictures like a child.
Right. Absolutely.
So when it flows well, it's a normal story. Like I've really been enjoying it. So once I get farther in, maybe we'll talk about as I finish each omnibus. We'll kind of recap it.
Yeah, sounds great.
I would personally love that. Since we're on the topic of comics right now, I was wondering if you've been reading Devil's Reign, that whole Daredevil kind of event thing that's happening right now in
The
Marvel.
Zdarsky run.
Yes.
I haven't. I've heard so much about it, and I've bought in about half of it, and I have not read it yet. It's in a stack up here at the shop, waiting for me to read it.
I actually don't know anything
Okay.
about that. What is that?
Uh, Devil's Reign, in a nutshell, without ruining anything, it's about Kingpin going to look at his files on Daredevil because he knows his identity. So he's going to look it up, and he can't see the identity of Daredevil anymore. And he knows that it's because somebody took that memory from him. So he goes on a warpath essentially to outlaw all superheroes in the Marvel world, and Daredevil's kind of smack dab in the middle of it. But like all the other heroes get involved, and Wilson Fisk, Kingpin, is the mayor currently in this run. So our heroes are going to try to have somebody run for mayor to oppose him. And Tony Stark is like, yeah, I'll totally do it. It's perfect. I got the money and blah, blah, blah. And all the other heroes are kind of like, hey, Tony, no, you can't run. And they're like, he's kind of like, why? And they pretty much say, like, in a nutshell, I'm paraphrasing heavily here, but they pretty much tell him, like, you're kind of a part of the problem, man. You're another rich guy with a big ego that kind of like is doing this to for a means to an end. So we need somebody who can kind of do this, and they're doing it because this is something that they want to do, something that they need to do, and they want to do it for a good cause. So they choose another hero that is a much better choice in my opinion. And I mean, I don't really want to tell you who it is because you haven't read any of the issues yet, but I mean it's when you start reading it, it gets to be pretty obvious who that character is.
Okay.
The problem is there's so many dang good comic books. I have such a stack that I need to read. I don't
Right.
even
It
know how I'm
does
going
get
to
difficult.
get it all in.
Yeah, man. I know for me, I mean, I read a lot of comics, and then some of them kind of slip through the cracks sometimes. And I read a lot of the big two stuff, and sometimes I don't always catch up on the indies, but I try to catch up on the indies. You know how that goes. But I've been reading a lot more DC than I've been reading Marvel, and that's mainly because Marvel just does events after event after event, and sometimes like it's boring. But some of those events just really hit, and Devil's Reign just happens to be one of those events that like I feel like I cannot miss. So I'm reading that as it goes. Aside from that, like I'm kind of peeking in on She-Hulk. That just
Cool.
restarted, so you know, I, right now that's kind of cool. And I know they restarted it because the show's coming out. So I mean, but it's not bad. It's not
Are
action
you up to
packed.
date on my favorite? On my
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to ask you if you're up to date on my favorite series by far. Something's killing the children.
Something's killing the children. I am not up to date on something's killing the children, but let me tell you why. I'm not up to date on that because I don't get my comics from a shop, like a local shop anymore. So it's really
Right.
hard to keep that every week. And then when I do buy stuff online, sometimes shipping gets weird and you get stuff late. So I'm trying to wait and just get a few of those at a time to read. But I think Something's Killing the Children is one of the best things hitting shelves right now. That as alongside with I don't know if you've read this comic, but it's The Nice House on the Lake. Have you been reading that?
I'm up to date on both of them. I'm a huge James Tinian fan right now.
Yeah, James Tinian. Like, I first got introduced to him when he was on Batman. I think he was writing Detective Comics. Then he switched
Right.
over to the main Batman title, and now he's like everywhere. So I'm definitely reading that. So that's really good, and I'm really glad you brought that up because not a lot of people that I talk to are reading that, and I'm just like, dude, you're missing out. You're missing out. I've been reading
It
that,
got
and
me. It got me back into comics. It's so good.
yeah, and it's one of those comics that will do that for you. And I've been reading the silver. I think it's called the Silver Coin.
I
You've been reading
heard
that?
lots of good things about that.
Yeah, that one, like it's an anthology kind of horror book. That's really good to read, especially if you're into horror like us guys here.
Right.
Um, and then just like off the top of my head, I've been trying to keep up with Spider-Man. It's Spider-Man's weird, man. Like the run that they're doing right now is strange. Like Ben Riley is back, and that's really cool because I like Ben Riley from the '90s. But like the story is kind of hard to follow. I'm still reading Static Season 1, that comic, because Milestone came back, and I'm really excited for that.
Right.
Um, I need to catch up on Noctera. I slacked pretty hard on that.
Ooh, love. That's one of my top ones right now.
Okay, that's good to hear because I really want to catch up on that. I've been
Ah,
reading Daredevil Woman Without Fear. I've been reading that.
Craven's just showed up in that, so that's why I wanted to read that because I know they just announced the Craven movie's coming.
Yeah,
So
they
I need
announced
to jump
some
in that.
actors for that, for sure. Obviously, pretty much anything with Batman in it, I'm reading it, even if it's not good. And there's a lot of Batman out right now, but realistically, there's a lot of good Batman stuff out right now, and
That's why they
I'm
keep doing it. Everybody likes it. It's good stuff.
yeah, man, they really been tightening up on Batman because like for a while I was like, damn, dude, they just doing my boy dirty right now because he's got a movie coming out, but they really started to turn it around within the last couple of months. So if you're a Batman fan, like now's the time to hop on the train because like his stuff is actually good right now. So that's good to hear. They got a new origin story for Batman that's out, and I can't remember what it's called,
Batman the
but
Night.
yes, and I'm reading that. But
Yeah.
my favorite book on the shelves right now is happens to be a DC book that heavily involves Batman, and it's called Dark Knights of Steel.
Do
I
you
don't know if
like
you've been
that?
reading it. What was that?
That's not still coming out, is it? I thought that's over.
No, it's still coming out. It's not quite finished yet. They haven't wrapped that up, but I'm reading
Ah,
that, and I love it, man. It's another Elseworld story, and like DC is just. I think that DC is just like king when it comes to Elseworld stories because that's when their
sure.
characters are the most interesting.
Right.
Unfortunately, for a lot of the characters, like they're just way more interesting when they're not what we are used to getting, and I love right now Dark Knights of Steel. It's essentially just a story about a bunch of DC characters, but in medieval times. So you got,
Okay.
Batman is an actual knight, and Superman is, he's pretty much what you would think Superman would be, but he's not a complete d bag in this comic. There's a giant twist in the first issue that you find out, and I'm just gonna go ahead and spoil that even for the comic people. Um, so just if you don't want to hear that, skip ahead a few seconds. But in this Elseworld story, Bruce Wayne is half Kryptonian, because Kryptonian,
What?
excuse me. Yeah, he's half Kryptonian, and you find out that Martha and Clark's dad ended up hooking up, and that's where Bruce comes from. And he's half Kryptonian. He has half the powers of Superman. He's like figuring that out, and he just learned it. And man, it's a fantastic story. Like I know you're people hearing that don't read comics are like, man, that sounds lame. Trust me, if you if you want to read a
No,
comic
that
that's good,
I can't even
like
imagine Batman with that power.
dude, like oh my god. Here's the thing. Imagine the version of Batman that we're used to with that power, and then take another version of Batman that's from medieval times that's not really, you know, not as Batman-y as we're used to. Like it's a fantastic little run, man, and I love it. And I definitely I'm gonna get every single issue. I'm gonna collect that in trades when it comes out. And then the last DC book that I'm reading right now is it's fairly new, and I hope that it stays good. But it's called Monkey Prince, and it's
I've got the
another
first
retelling.
issue up here. Is it worth reading?
Yeah, the first issue is actually not bad. I actually quite enjoyed it, and it's the Monkey King story that we've heard, especially if you watch like Dragon Ball Z, that kind of thing. It's just the story of the Monkey King again, but in the DC universe, and he just happens to meet up with meet up with Batman and Damian Wayne Robin. So it's not bad. Like it's only I think issue 2 just dropped this past week.
Yeah,
I haven't
I
read
picked it up
issue 2.
because of that sick art germ cover. I picked it up.
Yes, yeah, I really, really enjoy the art in the book, and I hope that the book stays good. Like I said, I really liked issue 1. I have issue 2 like on route to me, so I haven't read it yet. I hope that it's good. I really don't want that to falter, so we'll see. But as far as comics goes, like I could talk all day, but that's what I've been reading, like just that I know off the top of my head without looking it up.
Well, dang, Sin's over here like, what the hell did I just
Yeah, there's
start?
there's a lot I want to
Yeah,
check out, but yeah, I haven't done a lot of those. I haven't got to
It's
read
okay.
it. I've been
Whenever
behind.
we need material, we'll just bring up comics and we can go for a hot minute on comics.
Heck yeah. You
Absolutely.
guys need to send me some stuff to check out and some recommendations. I know
For sure.
Christian mentioned Invincible years ago to me. I got into was it Astounding Wolfman, I think, and
Yeah.
Haunt and stuff like that, and that was one that you really recommended highly. And then I watched the
Yeah,
show and I
Sonic
loved it.
Wolfman is also Kirkman, so that's probably why you'll definitely like Invincible, because Astonishing Wolfman is the same writer, same creator, just a different artist.
Yeah.
So you'll love that.
I think
And
it
then
started
Ryan
because of
Ottley is
Walking
the
Dead.
guy
I was
who's
reading those comics and you're like, check out
yeah.
Invincible.
Dude, I've been pushing Invincible on people for like, I don't know, 8 years now, like probably longer than that. But what I can say though, you absolutely like Invincible, because it's not the it seems like it's a stereotypical superhero story. You know what, man? Have you watched the season
Yes,
on
I love it.
Amazon yet?
It was fantastic.
Okay, yeah. Then it follows the comic pretty close. It's not like verbatim the comic, but all of the changes that they've made, and it made the comic better. Like, I know a lot of people were pissed off that like Amber is black in the show but she's white in the comics, but like it really doesn't matter, because
It
at the
doesn't.
end of the day her character isn't as important as you think that she is. So it like stuff like that's fine. And then the way that Mark becomes invincible, the story of him getting his powers, they
Super
speed that
cool.
up a little bit, but it just makes the story a little bit more fun.
Okay.
Well, Christian, you can appreciate what I picked up here last week. I drove up to Nashville to a comic shop, which is like 2 hours for me. So whenever I do this, I mean business when I make these trips. So I drive up there. I knew this comic was there, and I went there just to haggle with him. And yeah, I ended up picking it up. I got the Invincible One, What Not Exclusive by Tyler Kirkman, Omni Man cover covered in blood. Do you know that cover?
Ooh, I do know that.
That's the one I picked up. It's in
Oh
mint
my god.
condition. I came back and put it in a Mylar, and it's in my box, never to be touched by humans again.
Dude, absolutely. I That's one of those comics that you should, if you ever have the time and money, quite frankly, you should get that thing graded and
It's
you
a
know,
year turnaround, or I would. I just hate to not see it for a year, but literally, it's at 1 year right now.
damn man. I
Like,
That's crazy. I just got like my first couple of slabs recently, and one of them I'm actually sending out to one of our listeners. So Tej, the living Tej, if you're out there, TJ, if you're listening to this, I have your 9.8 Spider Woman issue 5
he doesn't
variant
need that.
cover. Like, that's coming to you, man. Like, I'm definitely
I
gonna
don't
send
need
He
it.
doesn't
that.
need that.
He doesn't need it.
No.
So I also have I don't know if you remember Doomsday Clock. Do you remember that? The event for DC where we
I
get
don't
Dr.
myself
Manhattan.
know.
Okay, so it's Dr. Manhattan essentially versus the DC universe. Like, I have issue 1 of 12 for that, and that's graded 9.8 from CGC. I have that going up, and then I also have um, Batman issue 118. It's Man homage cover, first appearance of Obis. I'm sorry, not Obis, Abyss. I can't read apparently, but that's also a 9.8. So
Nice.
I'm ready to get those bad boys hung up, so they are also never
Heck
touched by
yeah.
humans again. And if there are any listeners out there that know where I could find a copy, a graded copy of the Killing Joke, like issue 1 of the Killing Joke, dude,
Oh,
hit me up, message me, find me.
what a good story that was.
That was.
All right.
Yeah,
I
I
did.
guess that's what we've been reading, huh?
You've
I
been
hate to
busy.
get off topic, but the Killing Joke, I still am confused by the very last 2 frames of that story.
Oh yeah, okay. So
Joker's laughing, Batman
yeah,
starts laughing, and then it ends. I'm kind of confused. Like, are they pretty much saying to each other, we're kind of the same. We're both fucking lunatics, and then it just ends? Is that what's going on?
so the way that I've always seen it has been what you just said. A lot of people are like, "Oh, Batman kills him. He's finally breaking. Joker wins." I'm just like, "Bro, no, you're not. That's not what's happening to me. To me, like maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Alan Moore show up and be like, "Yeah, you're a fucking idiot, Christian." But
No,
from what
no.
I
He
understand,
starts laughing with him.
from what I understand, the whole point of this is for the Joker to make Batman laugh, because Batman knows that the world is just as crazy as the Joker makes it out to be. So he finally wins. He laughs. He breaks Batman down. He laughs because his life sucks and everything that the Joker did is fucking terrible. And he just ruined two people's lives forever. So Batman breaks down and laughs with the Joker, but that doesn't mean that he kills him. They just laugh
And then it
together.
just ends. He doesn't kill him. It doesn't say it does it to me. It didn't show anywhere that he killed him because to me, Batman's like, huh, 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 huh. And then he starts laughing hard, and then it's over.
Yeah, just like the end of the episode of like a animated series thing, you know. So we're in accordance on that. We're in accordance on how that ends, where it ends. So I don't think that. I think the thing is you're not confused. It's just other people are confusing you because they're telling you. They're reading into more things than what actually happened, what we
Man,
have
it just
on.
ended so abruptly with, it
Yeah,
was powerful the way he got him to laugh, and then he laughed and it ended. So I'm like, is there more to this story? Like, do I need to buy? Because I bought the hardback book for it.
Same.
yeah,
I have the same thing.
I'm like,
nice.
did they leave out the next couple pages? Because it just
No,
ended. But
that's it.
man,
That's
so
the
good. Like,
end.
very good story. You can get that pretty easy. I do all when I really want something. I shop on eBay for them. Because really the packaging, all these guys have mailed stuff thousands of times. They really care about their rating on eBay. You
Yeah.
get your best deal on eBay, I feel like, also compared to your local LCS and
Yeah, that's pretty
other
true because
places.
the thing about the people on eBay, like aside from you getting like swindled out of some stuff sometimes, the biggest thing to me is when you buy something on eBay, not only do they care about that, but they know that you're buying it for the preservation of it. They know you're buying it for the art of it. They know that you're buying it so that you can get it graded, so you can get it framed. But when you buy it from, local comic book shops, not all of them, but when you get it from LCS, like a lot of the times what happens is they just want to sell you the book and move that product out of the store. You know what I mean?
That's right.
They
And
don't
there's a
care about
premium. There's a
right.
premium on it.
Exactly. They don't care. They got, 200 issues of this comic that people may or may not want. They want to push that shit out of the shop as quickly as they can so they can get more shit in that people,
Right.
might want to buy. So I totally get it. And it's, yeah, I agree with you. If you can support locally, please God, support
For
locally.
sure. For sure.
But I live, in the Nashville area as well, so sometimes it's really hard to find a good shop out there. And I used to have a shop that I went to all the time. I no longer can go there. I've moved away, and it's not, it's got new ownership. It's not the same as it used to be. But all that said, I will absolutely find another local spot out here somewhere, and I'll start going there. But until then, I got to do this online stuff while I can. And I will say, like, reading something physically and reading something digitally are two different feelings. So
Sure.
definitely, if you can support that brick and mortar, do that. But yeah, I think did we kind of skip what we were watching and just go straight into reading? Did
Yes.
we do that?
Yeah. Yeah. You went on one of
I'm
your
I
gonna,
guess
I'm
I
gonna,
guess
patent
we better run.
Christian
We better run from
tangents.
this topic.
right,
This topic will never end if we don't run from it, I guess.
exactly. I want to real quick talk about.
Here we go.
Uh,
Christian tangents,
I
part
know,
two.
as we just said, we should wrap that part up. I'm going to talk real quick about what I've been watching. One thing that I did watch not too long ago that I forgot to mention was there's this movie on Netflix called The Harder They Fall. And that came out last year, 2021. It's a Netflix original. And it's essentially a spaghetti western, but it's like all people of color. And it's really, really good. Just a couple of the actors in it that you may know. Jonathan Majors from Lovecraft Country. You've got Zazie Beetz, who was in the Joker movie that came out 2019. You've got Idris Elba, who's in plenty of things.
Love him.
Yeah, dude, who doesn't know or love Idris Elba?
Jeez, he's
Regina King's in it.
awesome.
Lakeith Stanfield's in it. R.C. Seiler's in it. I'm sorry, R.J. Seiler's in it, and he's. I always think of him from the Power Rangers movie that came out. He was Billy, the Blue Ranger. And that's the newer Power Rangers that came out, where they were only in their suits for like 10 minutes, and they kept getting sponsorships from like Dunkin' Donut, or not Dunkin', but like Krispy Kreme.
Oh yeah.
Like I remember that one. And then it had like Dion Cole in it as well. So it's got a lot of people in it that you've seen or heard of or probably know from other films and shows. But the movie was fantastic. It was just smooth, man. Idris Elba is the villain in the movie, and I mean, what else do you need to hear? Idris Elba is the villain. He made so many things enjoyable, and he didn't even have that many lines, man. He was just killing it. And then Jonathan Majors from Lovecraft Country, and One Above All, Kang from the Loki series. Like he made that role his own. You know, Zazie Beetz is always good, and what she does. Lakeith Stanfield always kills it. He was Cherokee Bill. Like, it was great. So if you have an extra like 2 hours, like, by all means, hop on Netflix and watch The Harder They Fall. It was fantastic. I highly recommend it.
All
I'm
right.
gonna check that out. Sounds good.
Heck yeah. All right. So let's move on to our first topic of the day. It is pertaining to the gaming content creation streaming space. A company actually shoots themselves in the foot and essentially potentially just destroyed their entire company on one live stream. So pretty awesome stuff. For that, we definitely need to
pass the whiskey.
Oh yeah, for sure. Pass the whiskey, because Artesian Builds did a live stream where they were building a PC, which apparently is pretty usual for them. And they were going to give away a free PC to one of their ambassadors. Now, to be an ambassador, you had to have a certain criteria of followers on like TikTok. I think it's like 50,000 or around 1,500 YouTube subs, something like that. You had to have certain criteria just to become an ambassador with the program. So what they do is they would do a giveaway and give away a free PC build to one of those ambassadors. One of them, I believe her name was Kia Pia, won the giveaway, and on live stream they proceeded to check all of her analytics and essentially said, yeah, you don't meet any of these. And they made new criteria for the giveaway on the spot live, and took away her giveaway. They pretty much bashed her socials, talking about her follower number, all that, saying she had no click-throughs and her clicks were not existent, and just, yeah, pretty much bashed a whole ambassador thing. The CEO, Noah Katz, revoked it pretty much right away. And yeah, it just, social media went into an uproar immediately after, pretty much lynch mob mentality going after the company. Kia Pia has since received several PC offers. I believe she even got a sponsorship or got partnered with another PC brand, and received an outpouring of love. But not only did that happen, and that clip went viral of them talking trash about one of their own within the company and changing the standards, but it is now rumored, I believe it was One Pig, is claiming that Katz, the CEO of the company, has forfeited his company license in California for failing to pay his taxes in the state. A company by the name of Artesian Future Technology, registered in California under Katz, was named for forfeit in March 2nd of 2022. And not only that, but several brands, orgs, and people have revoked their partnership and their status with the company. Before this happened, OTK being one of the more notable ones. OTK features Asmongold and Mizkif, and they pretty much stepped away and didn't want to deal with that company and the dealings, and after they found out more about that. What do you guys think about this company essentially imploding all in one live stream and then just everything coming out and spiraling for them?
I think
it's hilarious. You go ahead, Christian.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually going to say the same thing. I think it's hilarious. I think it's a textbook. Example of a company believing that you can fuck around on camera and not get caught.
True.
That, I feel like that streamer. I'm not familiar with that streamer, and I don't want to say their name incorrectly, but I feel like that streamer pretty much told them, please test that theory at your earliest convenience, which is, just another way to say fuck around and found out. And that company fucked around and they found out real quick. Like, don't mess with people. Don't mess with their money. Don't mess with their feelings. Bad shit happens. And that's so messed up, dude. Like, hey, I know that you just did everything I asked you to do, but I don't like you, so you didn't do it, and I'm going to change everything that you're supposed to do.
Exactly. On the spot, too, which is stupid. That is so incredibly stupid, to be live and be like, oh, you win, but yeah, I'm looking now, and you're not eligible because of your stuff, but you were eligible for our program in the first place. It is absolutely idiotic, I think.
It kind of sounds like, I apologize for cutting you off, by the way, but You know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of like if I don't know, listeners, if you guys have ever looked into home ownership, but that's kind of what it's like when you're going to buy a home. They're like, "Hey, we need, look at a home you like. You need to get pre-approved for this amount of money and blah blah blah." And you go and do all the things, and then you find a home that you love, that you're in love with, and you want to do this, and you want to do that, and they're like, "Oh, we think we can approve you for this." And then you go to do the thing, and they're like, "Actually, we can only approve you for two veggie straws and a half bottle of water." So I totally get it. Like that's exactly what that seems like to me. And fuck that company, dude. Like
Yeah.
seriously.
There's a lot of stuff. I'm really good on her for bringing it to light and kind of, calling them out on their shit. I think just because there's a lot of companies and a lot of streamers fall victim to them. I mean, you get a like an affiliate or an ambassadorship where like you don't really gain anything. The company gains everything from you, like for the most part. Like you're promoting them for free essentially, and a lot of companies kind of abuse that when streamers could get more. It's just good for her to call them out and to blast it like that, and then the gaming community, streaming community rally behind her and rip that company, and then not paying taxes or whatever it was with the taxes. I mean that is stupid. So
Do you even really want to be a part of a company that is that shady to begin with?
no,
I think not.
no, not at all. So rip that company. Do you have any thoughts on it, Papa Ding? You're an owner
Ah,
yourself,
man.
a businessman, so
Oh, it's just, whenever you own any sort of business or anything like that, how you present yourself in social media is huge.
Mhm.
And I watched the little video clip of the whole ordeal, and the way he was acting real douchey about them not getting what they were owed. That was really bad, and they deserved everything coming to them. So it
Yeah,
all worked out for the best, I think.
I agree. I
So
agree. Didn't have a lot
it
on that.
brought light.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, brought light. No, it just brought light to their company. If he would have been cool and gave them what they were owed, we wouldn't be talking about them right now. But the way he acted, he screwed himself for sure.
Oh yeah, they were super douchey live about it. Just yeah, that's not how you handle business. I mean, even if for whatever reason the person wasn't eligible, this maybe message them. I don't know. There could be a better way to handle it, but if she met all criteria, it was just horrible. It was horrible all the way around. They just completely shit the bed on that one.
Jeez.
All right, but I think that will bring us to our next topic. Now that Christian decided he wanted to have a 30-minute intro because Christian rambles, you know how that goes. Christian, what do you have for our next topic? I believe you're gonna speak about some stuff something we were just kind of talking about, but not really talking about.
That's right. That's right. I'd like to talk about something else that I watched this week, and that just happens to be the Batman. Now, I will say this before I say anything. Everything that I'm going to say is completely spoiler free. If you have not seen the movie yet, do not worry. I will not go into major details of the plot. I'm not going to go into major details of what's going on with all the characters and where they end up. None of that. I'm just giving you pretty generic thoughts about this right now so that you guys can, kind of hear my take. So I saw the movie, The Batman. I gotta say, Robert Pattinson, when he got cast, a lot of people, myself not included, were really up in arms about the casting. Oh my God, it's the guy from Twilight. Oh my God, he's Edward Cullen, the vampire. Blah 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 blah. I never for a second thought to myself like, yeah, he's really gonna be a shit Batman. And this is why. It's not because I thought he was gonna be amazing or I didn't care. Blah blah blah. It's because the only time a Batman has been cast and it's just not been good was George Clooney. And I highly doubt that Hollywood, I highly doubt that WB, I highly doubt that, just DC in general is going to make that same mistake again. So when they cast, it's a long process. They don't just call up somebody and say, "Hey, do you want to be Batman?" It's a long, arduous process. So that's what I'm getting from that. So when he got cast, I was like, this is totally fine. I'm cool with it. You know, obviously he got cast for a reason, and I'd seen him in other movies that weren't Twilight. I saw him in this movie called Good Time. And I may have mentioned Good Time last week on the podcast, but I'm going to mention it again because it's totally worth it. Good Time is a fantastic film, and it's one of Robert Pattinson's best roles. With that said, him as Batman, him as Bruce Wayne. He was an okay Bruce Wayne. And the only reason why I say that he was an okay Bruce Wayne is because he's not the millionaire playboy that we've seen in the comics and other movies. He's just, you know, he's just a guy. He's just a dude. And the other thing about that, the reason why I'm saying he's just a dude is because this dude is Batman Bruce Wayne for about 10% of the movie. He's only Bruce Wayne for a little bit. This
Jeez.
dude is Batman for 90% of the film. And
That is awesome.
yeah, trust me, it makes a difference. And I can totally see now, like when the movie was announced and they showed us the leaked footage and behind the scenes of him being in the Batman costume with a new cowl, I wasn't feeling the flat nose. I wasn't feeling the raised kind of eyebrows on the cowl, and I wasn't feeling the eye sockets because I thought they were too big. But after seeing the movie, I see now why they were so big, and it's because Robert Pattinson emotes so much with his eyes in this movie, and it just makes all of the reactions that he has so much better. So that's all I'll say on his character for now. Oh, I'll say one more thing. He is a motherfucking detective in this movie, y'all. Like, we got a little bit of that in The Dark Knight. We got a little bit of that in The Dark Knight Rises. We got a little bit of that in Batman Begins. You know what I'm saying? But like in this movie, homie is a detective. He goes to crime scenes. He's casing the place. He's looking at everything. He's catching stuff that cops don't see. He's he is Batman in this film. He's early stage as Batman very clearly, so he still makes mistakes, but he is Batman.
Isn't he like year one Batman? Not to cut you off.
He's year 2 Batman.
Okay, so it's like really, really early. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
He's been Batman for 2 years. And that's the other thing. Like, he's been Batman for 2 straight years. There has been no days off. There has not been one night where he hasn't gone out. He is literally eating, sleeping, and breathing Batman for 2 years. So when this movie starts up, you'll understand what I'm saying there. The other stuff I'll say, right off the bat, you'll hear people talking about the runtime of this movie. Oh my god, it's 3 hours. It's so long. Oh my god. Shut up. That's what I got to say to all those people. Right off the bat. Shut up. You knew the movie was going to be 2 hours and 56 minutes with credits as soon as you went to see it, so don't drink a big-ass drink like I did. Just go and see the movie and enjoy it. And I don't care if it's 4 hours. I watched Zack Snyder's Justice League. It was 4 hours, and I loved every second of it. So same with this. Like, I really enjoyed the movie being long enough for you to have those characters, breathe. So when you see characters like Penguin or Riddler or whatever, they get some screen time. So that's really nice. And there is not a scene in this movie that I would cut out. So if that means anything to you guys, there you go. Okay. The other stuff I can say without spoiling anything, the cinematography for this movie is fantastic. This is one of the best. You know what? No, this is the best superhero movie that I think I've ever seen. And I mean that. Like, I'm not saying that as a fan of Batman. I'm saying this movie, looking at it, looks better than Endgame. It looks better than Endgame. It looks better than Shang-Chi. It looks better than the Eternals. Well, a lot of things look better than the Eternals, so it's not really fair. But it looks it looks amazing. And the reason is because when they use CGI, they use it sparingly. Oh. And you can tell. They choose shots and angles to have the character of Batman coming out of shadows, and it looks very organic. The way that he walks as Batman, by the way, he a friend of mine said this, so I don't want to take credit for it, but a friend of mine said he walks like a ghost, and I fully agree with that. 100% agree with that, and you'll see what I mean when you see the movie. But yeah, the cinematography of this movie is great. It looks amazing. It's the best looking superhero movie I've seen. And with that said, we're going to move on to Paul Dano as Riddler. Ooh. There's not much I can say about his character without ruining it, so I can say this. He was fucking terrifying. He was fucking
Oh
terrifying.
man.
Oh,
I loved what he did. I mean, everybody has heard by now that this character seems like the Zodiac killer, and we know that that's true because that's where they based, all the stuff for his character. So he's very
really?
much so the Zodiac killer.
Yep.
Yes, yeah.
I've never
So
actually.
very much
The Riddler is actually based off the Zodiac.
in this film.
Oh,
In
okay.
this
I
film.
thought you meant like in general. I was like, wow, I didn't know that.
No, just in this film. And they wanted to take. So we've only gotten Riddler on the big screen, twice, I guess? And that was in the 60s with Batman with Adam West, and that was very silly. And then we've gotten Jim Carrey's version of the Riddler, which is also very silly. So this Riddler, he's not wearing a onesie with question marks with his dick hanging out. He doesn't have, red hair that gets redder every scene of the movie. That's not him. He's terrifying. When he does talk, you listen. He puts people in these kind of saw trap riddles, and that's all I'll say for that without giving anything away. It's totally worth it, and I loved every minute of him being on screen.
Before you move
Um,
on, is it true that this movie is kind of like a horror film in a way?
that's actually what I was getting into next.
Oh, okay. Well, perfect segue.
Let him roll. Let him roll.
The way that this movie feels, the way that the score kicks in for the movie, the way that everything aesthetically, I feel like this could have easily been a horror film. I feel like every scene with the Riddler in it was filmed directly to be a horror film, and I also feel that that was intentional. So,
Okay.
yes, to answer the question in a nutshell, absolutely. Um, with that said, I'll move on to Catwoman. Catwoman felt right. I'll say that. This is very early stages of all of the characters that I'm mentioning, by the way. Early stages Riddler, early stages Batman, early stages Catwoman, early stages Penguin. So there's so much room for the characters to evolve. So Catwoman in that sense felt very true, felt very right. I don't really have anything negative to say. They did not call her that in the film, and that's not a spoiler. We call her Catwoman because we know the character, right? So that's what's going on with that. But she felt like pseudo Catwoman, but it didn't feel forced. It felt very nice. The chemistry with her, with Zoe Kravitz, and with Robert Pattinson was like smooth butter, man. I'll tell you that. Like there wasn't any awkward moments where their acting was like fumbling on top of each other. It's like they became friends first and then shot the film. That's what it felt like. So it was very well done. Is she my favorite Catwoman, though? That's going to be a lot of people's questions. I can already tell. Let me just tell you right now. My favorite Catwoman is always going to be Michelle Pfeiffer, hands down, and that's
Same.
because yeah, absolutely. It could change, if we get, the sequel to this movie and Catwoman is in it, she could be my favorite Catwoman. But as of right now, where it stands, my favorite Catwoman is still Michelle Pfeiffer. I had such a huge crush on that woman, and it's not just nostalgia making me tell you that she's not my favorite. It's because of the way that character evolved throughout the film, the way that she looked throughout the film, the way that she spoke in the film. She just seems more so like a Catwoman that I would read in those comics back then. This Catwoman feels like the Catwoman that I would read now in comics that are modern. So if that helps you. The other thing I can say, I was not a fan of the Batmobile at all. Like I thought it was, it was a car. I wasn't a fan of the Batmobile at all until I saw the movie.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I really didn't care about the look of the Batmobile. Like I know a lot of people's favorite Batmobile is Adam West, kind of like Hot Rod looking black and red vehicle, and that's where we got a lot of inspiration for stuff in this film. But I just didn't care. And then I saw this movie, and now I feel like a dumbass because that Batmobile was fucking awesome, dude. He made it himself. Like you can tell watching the movie that Bruce Wayne made this car by himself, and it shows in the film. It feels that way when you watch the film, and it's so right. And the sound that the engine makes when it first starts, y'all, I needed some new draws after I heard it. I'll just say that.
Oh my god.
It was great. I'm not even a car person, and it was great. Like this movie, like the car chase in this movie is my favorite car chase of all time, hands down. I love it. What you
Wow.
saw in the trailer, like that's a good chunk of the car chase, but it's the end chunk. You don't get to see what happens before that, and you don't. Oh, you know what? Nothing. Never mind. Just I can't wait for you guys to see it. It's totally worth it. So that's what I gotta say about the movie so far. I want to see more. I can't wait to see uh, Pat Bat do more. I can't wait. I'm
Pat Bat.
excited for it. I do have a ranking for the movie, but before I give you the ranking, I want to tell you what I think or what I thought the movie was based off when it comes to comics, where they took inspiration.
Okay.
Um, so if you haven't read these, absolutely do so because they're fantastic comics as well. But and they happen to also be like some of my favorite Batman comics of all time, so it just makes good sense. But there's a comic called Batman Year One.
I knew you were going to
This
say that
movie,
one.
you knew I was going to say that one.
Yes, I knew year one was coming.
Year One is a fantastic Batman story, and they very, very clearly take inspiration from that film by the way that Batman kind of moves and narrates sometimes, and what he says. So you can definitely see that. That's all I can say without giving away any spoilers in that. But absolutely, they take some things from Year One. They take some things from Long Halloween,
Ooh.
namely, well, I can't even explain that. They
Okay.
just trust me when I say that they definitely take some notes from the Long Halloween. They also take some notes from one of my other favorite Batman comics of all time, and yours too, Sin, which is Hush.
Oh, oh, okay. I just got a
Yeah,
tingling. I got a tingly
yeah,
feeling for that one.
yeah.
Oh my god.
A lot of people are going to say that they saw a lot of Court of Owls in this story, like not the characters, but just the beats of the story. I think any Batman story that you tell that is an early stage Batman that doesn't know Gotham, as well as the back of his hand, then it's going to feel like that. And there were like a few notes of that in here, but not a lot. So if you start hearing people say, "Oh man, it's Court of Owls, it's Court of Owls," like temper your expectations for that because that's not so much true. Could the sequel be that?
Uh,
Sure could,
I wanted to
but
say something
it's
about
not
that.
because
Isn't there? Didn't he come out and say that if they do a second Batman, he wants it to be based off of Court of Owls? Robert Pattinson, that
Robert
is.
Pattinson did say that. He
Yeah.
he did say that. Yes.
Okay.
And I think that's because that's one of the comics that they gave him to read to kind of
Wow.
learn about the character a little bit more, which makes sense because that's a great introduction to Batman. So it makes perfect sense. So I'll just say though, those are the comics that one you should read because duh, and you should be reading if you want to get more of a sense of Batman before you read these comics. Now, with that said, I'm going to move on to my ranking before I silence myself as best as I can. So, what do I rank this movie? Do I think it's my favorite Batman movie of all time? Is 1989 Batman with Michael Keaton, and a lot of that is nostalgia. I won't lie to you, but it's also a fantastic film. It's fun. It's got a lot of action. It's bombastic. The score is great with Danny Elfman. Michael Keaton does a great job being the Joker. Michael Keaton does a great job being Batman, and Jack Nicholson
Wow.
being Joker was fantastic.
Michael Keaton
Yeah,
played
I'm
everything in
just
that
tripping
movie,
all over my
apparently.
mind. Yeah, right, right. Never seen it ever. Never watched it. But it's a good movie. It's a fun superhero dark comic book movie. So that's always going to be up there for me. My favorite look of Batman of all the films that we've ever gotten. I'm a giant fan of the look of Ben Affleck's Batman. I love the giant bat on the chest. I love the extremely comic accurate costume. I love when they use full CGI for him to move around. I love Batman: The Dark Knight Returns, the Frank Miller story. It's one of my favorites as well. So I love that. With that said, 1 to 10, what I rank the movie. I talked myself out of giving this movie a perfect 10 many times. So my ranking was 9.5.
Okay.
And my ranking was a
Awesome.
9.5 because the movie is not perfect. It does have some issues. Um, but as a fan of Batman, as a fan of Batman, as a fan of superhero movies, as a fan of the grittiness that comes with this character, it has to be a solid 10. There's no other ranking I could give it. Critically speaking, as a person who watches movies all the time, as a person who watches actors when they're doing their thing all the time, as a person who watches how stories are unfolded, how the time in a movie comes out, could I give this movie a perfect 10 after that? With the score and all. The issues that I have with this movie are so minuscule that the lowest I could give it in good conscience is a 9.5. So we'll say that after this movie, because I talked myself out of giving it a perfect 10.
And we should probably preference you are I know all three of us are big Batman fans, but you are a massive Batman fan. As long as I've known you, you've been like my go-to for any questions, usually comic related, story-wise, character-wise, but Batman, you're like my Wikipedia. Like if there's anything, I'm like, hey, this and Batman, and you'll like explain it in detail to me. So you're one of the biggest Batman fans I know. So that's a pretty big statement.
Yeah, and I knew that going in, the people that do know me out there were going to be like, "No way! Why did you rank it that?" And like for all the reasons I just explained to you, that's why I ranked it that. That's why I can't give it lower than that. I mean, do I think that my hype for this movie would deteriorate in a few years? Fuck no. I think this movie is awesome. I think that Batman is awesome. I named my fucking son after a Batman character. Like you guys don't understand. Like I'm not just saying all this because I like Batman. I was hypercritical of this movie going in because I felt that it could be bad. I felt that it could fail, and it did not. So, that's my opinion. You guys tell me what you think on social.
I know social media has been loving it. I haven't seen a single negative thing about Batman out there, which is surprising in this day and age. I mean, usually there's always some naysayers, but I've seen nothing but praise, and I've been avoiding spoilers like crazy.
Yeah, good job. I mean, like it got to the point to where I only watched the teaser trailer, and then that big trailer that we got earlier last year or late last year, and that's all I watched because I just didn't want to be spoiled with this movie. I think right now on Rotten Tomatoes it's got like an 85 as of the time of this recording. It's got an 85%. I wouldn't be surprised if that goes, up and down just because people love to hate on stuff.
Yeah.
So I could see that going down, and it's a superhero movie that's not Marvel, so of course. So I can totally see that. But like PG-13 gritty superhero movie, like I just can't do lower than 9.5, even with a few of the things in the movie that I didn't like. I didn't even speak on Jeffrey Wright as not Commissioner Gordon, just James Gordon.
And that's the guy from Westworld, great. Correct? Or no?
Huh?
Is that one of the guys from Westworld?
It is.
Okay, I thought it.
Yeah, that's him. Dude, like he was great as Gordon, and I mean, like being Gordon, anybody could play that character and not be fantastic, but every time he was on screen I was like, man, this is great. And he like gives Gordon soul, and I'm not saying that because he's a black dude. I'm saying that because usually Gordon is just like a good cop and that's it, but Gordon is a great cop and a good human being in this movie. And I love Gary Oldman. I love Gary Oldman as Gordon, and I'm not taking anything away from him as that character. It's just that his version of Gordon is different from this version of Gordon, and you'll see what I mean when you watch the movie. Okay. And I don't know if there is a single viewer out there that watched MTV's Teen Wolf show.
I did.
I'm one of those.
Thanks to you.
You did. Okay.
We talked about this.
Yeah. We used to talk about this. So I can say this, that doesn't ruin anything. Do you remember the villain Deucalion? From like season 2, I want to say. Like he was a part of like the pack of alpha werewolves.
Yeah. Okay, yes.
Okay, so there were twins in that show that could like morph into one big ass werewolf.
Yes.
You remember them?
Yeah.
So those actors, Max and Charlie Carver, they're in this movie.
Okay.
And I didn't know that going in, so that was fantastic to see them like acting and being in something else. I really like those guys. They were in this movie, and they look damn near the same. They just have like facial hair now, so that was really cool. I forgot to talk about Peter Skarsgård's character. He was Peter Skarsgård. Like I don't know what else to say about that. And then Andy Serkis as Alfred. This was a very different Alfred from what we've gotten before. We didn't get a lot of him, so temper your expectations on how much Alfred we're going to get in this movie. But I really did enjoy what I saw. And I purposely didn't talk about Colin Farrell because I wanted to give him his own little section after I ranked the movie, so it wouldn't be swayed. But Colin Farrell as the Penguin was trash, dude. I hated it.
Wow.
I'm just kidding. He was the best part of the movie.
Okay. Equally,
Seriously.
wow.
Yeah, I can't explain that to you enough. Colin Farrell transforms under that prosthetic and under that makeup, and he is Oswald Cobblepot. He is the Penguin in this movie. Like that's the best way I can describe that to you. I can't see any other actor being that character in this film. He chewed the scenery when he was on screen with what he said, with how he moved, his mannerisms. Like, dude, I can't praise Colin Farrell enough. I know that we talked briefly on the last episode about Colin Farrell being a big major part of the Gotham show that we're going to get on HBO Max that talks about Batman's first year as Batman in this world and then beyond, because it's more of a show for the villains. And I am so fucking here for it, because give that man an Oscar for what he did.
Wow.
He was fantastic. I loved it so much. And I can't wait to see more. Just the way, like, you see it in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler, but there's a part where Batman's in a club, like, beating the shit out of everybody, and then you hear him, like, grab Penguin, and Penguin's like, "Hey, take it easy, sweetheart." Like, oh god, that's like a catchphrase of his, calling people sweetheart in this movie, and like, dude, he's so fucking gross in this movie. And I don't mean like Danny DeVito spitting out like
Fish.
vile gross. I mean like sleazy gross. Like, he seems like the type of person that would, like, I don't know, that would like grab your girlfriend's ass secretly and then just like walk away smiling. Like, he's that kind of guy. Like, he's a creep. He's you love to hate him in this movie, but he also brings so much to the table. So you see, like, I can't even go into it. You just have to see it. Colin Farrell, Jeffrey Wright, Paul Dano, Robert Pattinson, like, these people are in this movie and they are just bringing their fucking A game. And that's another reason why I can't give this movie below a 9.5. I just can't do it.
So you love the casting, in other words. The casting's perfect. And the cast
I wouldn't change a thing. Well, there is one thing I would change, but we'll talk about that another day.
Okay. One last thing I want to bring up about it, or I wanted to ask, actually, before we kind of go on, is Robert Pattinson potentially the Batman of the future? Will he be the new staple for DC? Because I would like to see some stability in that role, and in roles in general in DC.
So I think I know what you're getting at.
Like, is he going to be moving forward? Like, if we get another Justice League, or if we get whatever, any like crossover like Marvel does, will he be Batman based on what you've seen in this movie, or do you think he can be?
So, do I think he could do it? Yes. Do I think he's going to? No. And once you see the movie, you'll understand what I mean by that. Once you see this movie, you won't want a Justice League film. You don't. Once you watch the Batman 2022, you'll realize that DC doesn't need a Justice League. DC doesn't need crossover films. What they need is stability within the character films. So this version of Batman, could he find a version of Superman? Could he find a version of Flash? Could he find a version of Aquaman, Wonder Woman, all those other characters that we know and love from the comics? Absolutely. But right now, he doesn't need them.
Will they keep him as Batman, though? Like, moving forward, will he continue to do Batman films, though? Or is this going to be like a one-off, like Joker, maybe?
No, there's no doubt in my mind that we're going to have a trilogy. And I think that the director of this movie, his name escapes me for some reason, and I've been saying it like all week.
Matt Reeves.
Yeah, Matt Reeves has already said that he typically, this is what he said, he typically writes movies to be trilogies, and I don't think that this movie is any exception. but I can't really go into that
Okay.
on this episode.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, do I think Robert Pattinson's going to be the Batman of the future? Absolutely. Do I think he's going to be the Batman in another Justice League movie? No, because I don't think that we're going to get another Justice League movie because of what it took to make the good Justice League movie that we did get with the Snyder Cut. No, I don't. I don't think the DC or Warner Brothers wants to take another chance on that anytime soon. But another thing I can tell you is Matt Reeves already let us know that he is not rushing a sequel to this movie. If we are lucky, we will get a sequel to this in 3 to 4 years. So we're going to be able to just breathe and just let this movie, take root in our hearts and in our souls, if that makes any sense.
I'd rather him take time
yeah,
though and put out a good product than rush a sequel for money.
The producer
Absolutely.
already came out and said he guarantees less than 5 years.
there we go. So
It's
perfect.
happening.
Okay.
Yep.
Heck
This
yeah.
movie's already made like 120 million, and that's just as of yesterday. So the movie's been out for what, 2 days, 2 full days, and it's already made 120 million. That's pushing on Spider-Man: No Way Home money for the first weekend. So we're absolutely going to get more of this. There's no way that they would let this stand. But with that said, yeah, he's absolutely going to be Batman for the foreseeable future. Just not a Batman that we get in a Justice League film, because I don't think that they're gonna. I don't think that they're gonna want to do that because they've been burned before.
Okay. Well, thank you for your thoughts and your insight. Not spoiling it. I'm planning on seeing it. Hopefully, if we have a babysitter Friday, and then Papa Ding, I think you're seeing it tomorrow or something.
Tomorrow, by myself, no one's invited.
Oh. Oh. Heck yeah! I'm excited to see it though. I know you're a big Batman fan as well as me, so I'm pretty pumped on it.
I'm super stoked. I've literally read, man, no less than 3 omnibuses prepping to get in the mood for this, and I'm very excited for it.
Nice. And one last
Yeah, like
thing,
you should.
Hush is a fantastic. It's probably my favorite, one of my favorite graphic novels or anything. I
Super
love Hush.
good.
You mentioned it, and I just want to throw that out there real quick. I didn't want to go in detail on it. That could be another episode. Even next week, we can talk more maybe about Batman. Some of mine and Papa Ding's thoughts on it, since we'll hopefully have seen it by then, and kind of touch base with Christian a little more about it then. But,
Definitely.
But yeah, that was a very detailed insight. So thank you. For this next portion, I'm going to need to
Pass the whiskey.
pass that whiskey and get a sip, because we are going to lead off into a segment that will be a staple of the podcast. We're going to talk about spooky stuff. Lots of spooky stuff, whether it is personal, whether it is something we have found on the internet, stories, videos, whatever, or even viewer stories they have sent in. We're going to check out some sinister tales. And we're going to let the one and only Papa Ding lead us away with this. I believe he has a personal one. Is that true?
Yeah, I got a personal one for us,
Okay.
one near and dear to me, in not a good way.
Oh no. Okay.
So y'all feel free to, if you have questions while I'm telling it, feel free to pop in and ask. It's no big deal. So we'll start out. My wife always
Oh,
wanted to go and stay in a haunted plantation, kind of like a romantic getaway.
Oh God.
And I've done many things over the years. We've been married 15 years, so you run out of shit to do. I'm not into haunted things. I don't even really watch that many scary movies. So, I never wanted to do this for her. But after a certain amount of years, what do you do to impress somebody? So, went on Google, nicest places you can sleep at that are haunted in America. So, I got tons of lists back on my Google, and this place that was number 1 and 2, it kept on popping up on all the lists and even on the international list. And it's a place called the Myrtles Plantation in St. Francisville, Louisiana. And the only place that popped up above it sometimes was I forget, it's the hotel in Colorado where The Shining is filmed, the Stanley Hotel. But usually this is either number 1 or number 2 in the U.S. most haunted house in America. And you can sleep there. It's a $250 a night. It's a 4-star bed and breakfast. So it's a beautiful place. So, any questions yet? We doing good?
you said this is in Louisiana, correct?
It is. It's only 7 hours from us. That's one of the main reasons I picked it. It was actually drivable.
Okay. When do you know when it was built or anything? Like how old is this?
200 years old, maybe.
Oh, okay. So it's been around a minute.
It has, in all the shows you watch. I didn't know any of this shit when I booked the place. I called and I should have known right away when I called, because when they answered, it was nursery rhyme music that was cutting in and out in the background.
Oh no.
Oh no.
And yeah, exactly. I'm like, what the fuck's going on right now? And then this lady answered. She told me about it, and she's like, okay, we can book you. She's like, now, sir, once you book, you can't cancel. Like, this shit's non-refundable. She didn't say shit. She just said, it's non-refundable, sir. I'm like, okay, that's a weird thing to say.
She just said the shit is non-refundable.
Right. So I booked it, and I didn't tell her about it because it's going to be a surprise. So the next day I Google it, and lo and behold, I'm going to one of the fucking most haunted places on the planet. I had no idea what I was doing to myself. And man, if you get on Amazon, type in Myrtles Plantation, you'll get tons of episodes from ghost hunters and unsolved mysteries from back in the day. And every show, they have done multiple episodes. It's one of the most requested locations for any ghost hunter show. It's but anyway, so yeah, I really got myself into the shit. So I wasn't excited for this. I thought it was kind of cool to go walk around in cemeteries back when I was younger and do all that silly shit. Did y'all ever do stuff like that?
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, I had friends who had wrote me into it, but it wasn't my first, second, or third choice.
Right. And as I've gotten older, I found out that I'm sensitive to shit that's paranormal type shit. I know that now. So I myself, I don't fuck with it no more after my experience I've had. But so we go there. I told her, she was super excited. Y'all have to look it up. It's a crazy place. It's the only place in America where National Geographic has documented it. They go back yearly to update the findings for the main ghost that is at the location. But it's all legit. And anyone who's ever been through some real shit like that, it's not like what you see in the movies. It's totally different. It's this weird, horrible feeling you have. It's not like shit jumping out and scaring you. It's like the fact of knowing you're not alone and there's shit going on that you can't stop and you can't help it. So
it's like a feeling of dread, or
it is. It's a feeling of dread for me, because I could feel it so hard. Some people don't feel it as hard, and I'm very envious of them. But it's definitely what it's like. And but I'll keep going unless you have any more questions before I go on.
Yeah, go ahead. Proceed.
Okay. So we're driving there, and like I said, I tell everybody who wants, to go somewhere haunted, but be pampered at the same time, go ahead and go to this place. I smoked a ton of herb back when I went here, and maybe that made me more sensitive too. But now I'd probably go again. They have cabins not in the plantation that's built on the outskirts.
Yeah, so that's where you got me at Plantation.
What's that? Yeah, it's built, more shit I didn't know about. It is built on an Indian burial ground. What? It is the birthplace of voodoo from New Orleans. They didn't stop in New Orleans. They went into the land because the slaves, I guess, when they got to land, it wasn't safe to stay right there at the docks and the ports of New Orleans. So they traveled inland to plantations, and the Myrtles was one of the main hubs of where those religions came and they got grounded, So that went there. The colonial deaths, all the major battles went down there. It was a hiding ground. So you got Indian burial ground, you have slavery deaths, you have birthplace of voodoo, and you have tons of soldiers' deaths.
And so why do people want to go here? Because this sounds like a
it's a major it is a major trifecta of shit for sure. So, but you get there and it's beautiful. It's very romantic. There's no TVs on the premises. Your cell phones don't really work. They want you to be transported into this time, and it's I will admit it's beautiful all day long. You walk around, you're on the grounds. It's just beautiful. It's not many places I go where I want to sit down and just chillax or walk around, you know. And it's right up there with going to the beach. It's just real pretty. But so our first day there, we show up, and you know, my nerves are up and her nerves are up because you know where you're driving. We watched some of the episodes of Ghost Hunters while they're doing the tests there. You've seen those shows. So we get there, and there's a ton of people in like fancy outfits, you know, nice dressed up suits and fancy dresses. Come to find out, all day it was like a wine and cheese party for the town city council or whatever. So that immediately calmed us down. It was awesome. So like, cool, look at all these people here. It has a nice huge courtyard with a water fountain in the middle. Like I said, real pretty. And we were in our like chilling clothes. So we went to our the cabin. We didn't stay in the plantation the first night.
Wait, can you stay in the plantation? Like in the house?
Absolutely. And I'm going to get to that. That's a problem.
Okay.
The first night we stayed in the caretaker's quarters. It's a cabin outside the plantation. I wanted us to get the most bang for our buck, so we stayed in a different place every night we were there. I guess I should also preface saying most people go to this place for a 40-minute tour. They get on a bus from New Orleans. They drive 40 minutes to this place. You pay for a 40-minute tour with a guide that's dressed in the period outfits, like in a dress somebody would have worn in the 1800s. And they take you through. Half of this place is a museum with priceless artifacts of Louisiana culture that they'll never exist again. You know, tapestries, oil paintings, silverware that's been preserved. So half of this place you can only go in on tour, and the other half of the plantation, it's made to where people can sleep in it. So we stayed the first night in the caretaker's quarters, the second night in the general's quarters inside the plantation, and the third night in the doll room, the scariest room in the United States.
Doll room.
And like I said, most people go for a tour, and you'll go on YouTube this place. A lot of people don't make it the night, you know. They can't really say what's going on, but they cannot stay. There's an amazing breakfast in the morning, homemade crepes and beignets, all Cajun stuff. Delicious. Nice. Yeah, really good. And but most people don't make it. So, and I didn't know that when I booked it. I'm like, you know what? 3 nights, bed and breakfast. It's going to be great. Come to find out, it was not great. But so the first night, we're around all these people. There's a lot of people out. We don't know any of them, but we're at a table out in the courtyard, and we're drinking. And Stacey goes, "Oh, what was that?" She turned around, looked at me. It's the middle of the day, you know. And she's like, "Something just touched me." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, there's no one behind you. She's like, "Hey guys, one second, I got somebody at the door." As I'm telling a scary story, of course somebody's going to come up to the door.
Suspense. What if it was like one of the spirits coming after you, telling a scary story, and they're like knocking on the door, standing there, peeking through the window at you?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, I think they're gone. I'm up here at the tattoo shop by myself with the door locked and the lights on, so of course people are trying to come in here.
You should turn the lights off. That'd make your scary story even better, wouldn't it? Wouldn't you like the lights off?
Hell's no. So, okay, yeah, so she says, something just rubbed my back. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking? Shut up. I'm like,
you said this is like
something
midday
just fell on your
too?
back.
Like noonish?
Midday, there's a lot of people around. Yeah, there's people drinking, partying, enjoying themselves, all like socialites, you know, bougie people.
Okay.
And so, yeah, we drink, we have fun, because there's nothing to do at this place other than just absorb nature and be in the moment. So we're out there till sunsets. And then if you research the place, one of the most famous pictures, you know, is the main spirit of Chloe. And they've always catch her in the same spot. You know, National Geographic always catch her in the same spot. Ghost Hunters catch her in the same spot. There's many popular entities at this place, but she's the main one. So to get to the caretaker's quarters, you have to walk through the courtyard and in between the plantation and the general store. And it's in this little area. They always get pictures of her. So at this point, I'm starting to get a little tipsy. We've been hanging out, drinking wine, eating cheese all day. And
Eating cheese.
eating cheese, dude.
Fancy as hell.
I'm totally in the socialite, acting like I'm one of these people. I'm nothing like these people. We were just living it up.
We are not the same.
We are not the same. I'm like, whatever, this is fun. So I walk through it. So I'm carrying the ice. We have an ice chest. I'm carrying the ice chest back to the caretaker's quarters, and she's following me, and she's taking pictures behind me, and something almost knocks me over, like from the left. And I feel like I saw something to the left, but I couldn't tell. And something almost knocked me over, and then I hear footsteps in the pebble rocks right next to me. So at that point, I just frozen. Like, I'm like, what the fuck just happened? And it's not pitch black outside. It's later in the evening, but there's lights around, so it's not pitch black. So I saw nothing come. It was literally something hit me, almost pushed me over, and then right next to me and running off in the gravel, I hear those footsteps going. And from that point on, I did not sleep for the next 3 nights.
Oh, shit.
So it's and that was my first real experience with something like that. And it's just, like I said, it's a weird feeling of actually experiencing something that's real, but petrifying. So that night I didn't sleep. The whole time I was there for 3 nights, I didn't sleep. But because once dusk hits this place, the total mood changes. All of a sudden, an ominous feeling goes over. And it's strange because, one of the rules at the plantation is there are no rules. They want you to be up all night long, and they want you to walk the premises, take pictures, take videos all night long. They want you to get proof. They want you to show it to them the next day. They want you to share it on social media because that's how they get more business. So we were doing that after the first night. By the morning, I got my wits back about me. I got over it. Like, I literally had a ghost almost knock me over. And the next morning, Stacey showed me her pictures, and she was behind me taking pictures of that walkway. And there was a picture of a girl standing almost right in front of me. It's crazy. Like, there was nobody there, and we literally have the picture of the ghost. We ended up getting rid of it because we didn't want to have anything on us anymore from the time we went there. But
rid of the photo?
Yeah, we had. So after, we got rid of the photo. It got to where it was uncomfortable to have anything on us.
Okay.
So that was the first night. We slept in the caretaker's quarters, which just the name of it is kind of creepy.
Yeah.
So the second night, well, then we have all day. So we're on day 2. We're enjoying the ambiance. We're enjoying the scenery, loving life. We go right down the street to a Creole restaurant. I'm Cajun, so that's my favorite food. So we go eat, come back, walk around, same thing again, just hanging out, slowly drinking wine, more water this time, except this time
Always hydrate,
staying in
boys
the
and
actual
girls.
plantation. Always hydrate. So now we're in the plantation. So we go up there, we put our stuff in the room, and this shit, there's no insulation. I can hear somebody in the room 2 doors down. So in the plantation, there's 4 rooms you can stay in. And I can hear whatever, like 4 rooms down, I can hear what those fuckers are talking about. The walls are paper thin. Which I love. Like, that kept me sane because it made me feel like I wasn't alone. So I needed that. And back in the day, they didn't make bathrooms in the bedrooms, That wasn't how shit worked.
There's outhouses and stuff, right? Back then?
Yes, that is how they did it. But for this, they built a modern bathroom in the hallway of the plantation. So if you had to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, you had to leave your room and walk down the hall and go to the bathroom. So we went to the bathroom in teams. One of us would stand in the shower, the other one would go to the bathroom, and vice versa. Because, like I said, the feeling is there. You're not going to the bathroom by yourself. But so the second night, the second night, all the ghost hunters were there. There was a professional team there. I don't know who they were, but they had camera crews. They were getting jiggy with it. And there was a couple tourists there. They were out doing the whole thing, and we did it also. We did it all day. 3 days straight, we took pictures and videos, and then we compared them with people at tables in the evenings. And the second night is when we got tons of proof. We had this old lady that kept popping up in windows that was following us practically. Like, her face kept on showing up. She was a pretty terrifying one. I had a picture of a Confederate soldier hovering above Stacy in the middle of the night. Like, I could see his face. I could see his medals, his buckle, his whole uniform, literally everything. It was insane. And some other people got some close to the same type of shit, but they thought we pretty much got the best footage that night for sure. And they wanted to get it from us, but at that time we were hoarding it. We were all excited. We actually had proof of stuff. So that night we stayed in the general's room inside the plantation. And that night, again, I just laid in bed all night. I didn't sleep. Stacy this is when she was starting to fall into her, what we now are pretty sure was her possession.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it was her birthday weekend. And Stacy's an old soul. She's drawn to old things and all this stuff. And she got to where she slept amazingly there. And she loved everything about it. Like, she was being absorbed by it. She was comforted by the whole area. Anytime we would leave the premises for a little while, she would start kind of having a little breakdown. So on the second night in the general's room, she could feel a hand rubbing her ass over and over again. And I could feel breathing right next to my face. And she could feel the indentation of the bed going down at her feet. And she could feel something going on down there. And I kind of did, but I just denied it. I wouldn't let myself believe what was happening. But that shit was happening. The piano in the museum area was playing You Are My Sunshine, and only the women could hear it. The next day, only the women knew only they could hear the piano, and only they could hear what it was playing.
So I'm hearing a lot of nope right now.
Yeah, which is all absolutely insane. So finally it's daylight. I'm ecstatic because I'm laying in bed. And trust me, I left the light on. We didn't sleep in the dark. And I'm just waiting for this night to be over. And because when she goes to sleep, she just passes out. So I'm fucking laying there by myself for the next 7 hours, like just waiting for this hell to be over. Because I just want daylight to come so I can start the next day, get up, move around, and all that. So luckily, I'm just feeling things this whole time. I got hit that first night. And then I'm only feeling this presence the rest of the time that I'm there. Stacy's they're focused on her.
Shit.
So the third night, we move into the doll room, which is the most haunted room in the U.S. It's really famous for, I guess to tell you the story, Chloe was a servant girl. She was a voodoo practitioner. The masters that owned the plantation, their kids got sick, and Chloe was trying to heal them. And this is all documented. It's pretty crazy history. She was trying to heal them. And whatever she gave them, she fucked up on accident, and she killed the kids. So they took Chloe and they hung her out on the property. And that's why she's stuck in the field out there on the property. So the guy that ordered that was the general or whatever. It was his room we slept in the first day. And I should also say the second biggest cemetery in Louisiana was right down the street from there. We went there and we visited every gravesite to every room that we were sleeping in. So we visited the grave sites, we hung out at their house, and then we slept in their rooms.
Do you think that added to it? Visiting the gravesite, was that like further like
Dude,
instigating the spirits?
absolutely, man. We were entrenched. It was something weird was going on because I was so on the way there. I didn't want to have anything to do with it. I told Stacy, "Don't even bring back a stone from this place. I don't want anything." But while we were there, I was obsessed with it. I was loving it. I was petrified in the evening, but during the day, I was loving it. The whole atmosphere, the feeling. There's nowhere else I wanted to be. So something was going on with me too, just not as intense as with Stacy.
Whose idea was it to go to the grave, like the grave for each one?
Stacy.
So do you think that was part of the possession with her?
Might be because we sought them out, like spent an afternoon there, like walking around them, taking pictures of cool looking gravestones. And just totally absurd. So far as a thing, we had Stacy had somebody touch her. I had something almost knock me over, but I told you we had the picture proof. We know what it was. Almost knocked me over. Stacy had a man's hand rubbing her ass while she's sleeping, and I could feel something right next to me, and we knew the bed was compressing. Okay, so
Jeez.
now we're waking up. So y'all still with me? Any questions?
No.
Man, I have questions, but I want to hear more, so I'm gonna wait.
Okay. Well, we'll move on to day 3. The story goes a little bit past day 3.
Day 2?
What's that?
All of that happened day 2?
That was day 2, man. And
Damn.
and most people, like, you watch YouTube videos of people staying the one night, and they leave in the middle of the night, and because it's funny, we talk every night. There's somebody there watching the premises. He stays in like a little custodian place. And most people don't stay like we did for multiple days. So we were talking to him. He's like, it's hilarious. People give me a call in the middle of the night and there's something in my room. What do I do? He's like, I don't fucking know, man. I'm here to get you a towel if you need a towel. So he's like, people come here not thinking it's going to happen. And it usually does happen. Of course, there's people that stay there that had nothing happen to them. I feel like if you go there really, really, really wanting it and all that, it might not happen for you. It's a real strange thing. Like, I wasn't looking for it to happen. I was going to stay at a nice bed and breakfast and enjoy myself. And we were bombarded. So, the third day, same thing, enjoying the premises, walking around, sitting in the courtyard, sitting in the atrium, just hanging out in nature and in this old setting like you're in the 1800s. Went had dinner, came back in the doll room this time. And there's inside the room, there's a couple dolls, of course, but there's this little room right in front of the bed. So I stacked all of our suitcases right in front of that little door. I'm like, fuck that shit. I'm like, I can't be sleeping with a little baby door right there in front of me. Apparently, when kids were bad, they would put them in those little rooms and lock them in there. That's how they disciplined children back in the day. So, because I was like, why the hell would there be such a small door built into this place? And that was the reason why. We took the tour a few times, so we learned a lot about history. That was one cool thing. The doorknobs were way lower. People weren't as big as we are now. So the tubs were in the room on almost sawhorse looking things. It didn't even look like somebody could even fit on the tubs, but people were smaller back then. So they did. So that night, that day we hanging out, same thing. We met our little celebrity lady. If you watch any of the ghost hunter shows from any of the hunters on AMC or Discovery, whatever, there's the woman. I forget her name. It's this big black woman. She's awesome. Oh man, I can't believe I forgot her name. But that was like our starstruck moment when we saw her finally. She was in the main lobby, like, oh my God, look who it is. It's her, because they always interviewed her. Because she played it off, but we deducted from all the episodes of shows we watched about her that she is like a higher up with the voodoo stuff. Like, and she's kind of important and influential to that whole area. So it was really cool meeting her. She really took to Stacy, and they talked a lot in a creepy way. You know, it was very strange. Everybody took to Stacy a lot. Like she had really become part of the location. So that night we're sleeping. I'm wide awake again. Also, the main general guy, he got shot and killed on the 7th step going upstairs. And that night, the doll room is located right next to that staircase. So you got the kids that died in that room, and then the guy that owned the house died right outside that room. So that night, Stacy had kids' fingers that were patting her all night long. She could feel them rubbing her chest, rubbing her things. She said it was one of the most soothing, wonderful sleep she's ever had. She said it felt like somebody was tucking her in all night, which is horrible. So,
no.
And I was just wide awake. You know, I just lay there all night again, not wanting to go to sleep. It's weird. Like I was in a petrified trance all night, but once the sun goes up, I turned happy and go lucky and excited to be there. And that's how it was for me the whole time, which really made no sense for me. And like I said, Stacy got the best night of sleep again. I was by myself all night again. So that was the end of our 3rd night. So it's checkout day. There's a general store built onto the place. It's brand new because recently, 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, the general store went up in fire. And this is crazy. You know, it's directly built onto the plantation. Went up in flames, burnt to the ground. The 200-year-old plantation didn't suffer any damage. So that in itself is very crazy, I believe. So we went in there, and at this point, like I said, there's something wrong with me. Looking back at it, there was something wrong with me because I wanted a souvenir. And I went to this place not wanting shit. And we're looking around. They have all this stuff, you know, kind of generic New Orleans stuff. And I go up to that famous lady, and I'm like, I want something, you know, something from here, something unique. And she's like, well, there's this. I'm like, no, this stuff's kind of lame. She's like, well, we have some things in the back. I'll let you take a look at them. So she brings out these 3 dolls. So y'all guys still with me?
Yes.
Still with you.
Okay. You tell me if I'm talking too much. Is going okay?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. She brings out these 3 dolls. They were commissioned by an artist to make like a decade prior. They're pretty much legitimate, real voodoo dolls. They're made from stone from the premises. They're made from wood from the premises. They're made from drapes that hung in the 1800s inside the house. They're fashioned after the main spirit, Chloe. So it's the most expensive piece of art I've ever bought. I ended up buying one. Absolutely insane, you know, and immediately Stacy was attached to it. Like that's her thing. And so anyway, we're packed up to leave. We had this big ordeal. Buying that doll was a real big deal because they don't even offer it to anybody. They don't show people. So for some reason, they just wanted to show us. There was only 6 of them made, and we got the 3rd one because there was 3 left. So Stacy's crying. We're leaving. She does not want to go. Like just bawling. She's tore up. She wants us to call back home, make some changes so we can stay longer because she doesn't want to leave this place. Like, we got to go. Like it's over. We have to leave vacation. We spent way too much money. Right. So we drive back in silence practically for most of the way, just kind of reminiscing everything and, you know, thinking it's over. So I've only got I got a little bit more to tell y'all. So the story's not quite over.
Okay.
Because again, this is real life. It's not like a scary movie. This is real shit that happens. So doesn't have quite the same climax. It's just horrible shit happening.
Should we save that for next week, maybe? The conclusion?
We definitely can if you want to.
Part 2
for sure.
of it? Because, I mean, you kind of set up, like, what happened, so maybe we could wrap that up next week. Did you hear that?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's not nearly as long, so it'll probably be, I'd say a quarter of what we've been through is what we'll have left.
And we could kind
Oh
of,
wow.
you could even recap it and stuff. So that's, dude. So I want to say before you get into anything like next week and stuff, and I'm sure we'll talk about it again, I've actually seen the doll that you purchased in person.
Right.
And my wife
Right.
hated me for it because she does not like that shit at all. And you were actually tattooing me, and you brought it up, and you were like, "Do you want to see it?" And I was like, maybe." And she was like, "Hell no." And then finally she was like, "Okay," because you had it in a glass case at the time, and we looked at it, and that doll was freaking creepy. There's no shot I would have that doll.
Yeah, it's still. We went and got a $200 antique case to keep it in. It'll never leave the house. Like Stacy's more attached to it than her kids. It's like literally a part of the family. It's something that, like, if she goes, bad things will happen to us. Or the kids blamed a lot of shit happening in the house for a little while on the doll. But that's stuff I can get into later if you want to bring that in next week.
Yeah,
but
I think that would be
it's
awesome
like going to this. Going to this place did cause more shit for sure.
Oh yeah, excited to hear it. Christian, you have any questions or anything? Are you alive over there?
Yeah, I'm digesting it, but I do actually, have a question. So your wife, Stacy, you said cried when it was time to go, right?
Yeah, she was destroyed. Like the attachment made between Stacy and that main woman, like the famous lady, the voodoo queen. The attachment they made was very surreal and not normal. For me, the outside looking in, it's like I was watching a movie and I was part of it. So she was definitely destroyed.
You said a lot of things about the overall trip, each day that I'm thinking about it as you talk about it, and I'm just like, there's no way I would ever do this. And I'm trying to figure out, like, if I were in the position, like, let's say I made because I mean, in your defense, you did a typical man thing. You didn't really research the place before you went.
I did
what I
not.
mean?
I did not.
So you made the reservations, and the lady even gave you an out. She was like, "Hey, this shit ain't refundable, dog. Like, you sure you want to do this?" And you were like, "Yeah, slap that shit on. Here's my card number." And so you're going to do that, and then you get there and you're doing it, and it's like, "Oh, wait a minute, this might have been a bad choice." So you're already there. You're doing it. You don't want to leave because toxic masculinity. You're not a pussy. I'm just kidding. You don't want to leave
for
because
sure.
like you want to do it. You've already started. You want to do it. So you're doing the thing, and then there's just so many problems with it that I can hear, but I'm also, like I said, on the outside looking in. So I'm just like, first of all, it's on a plantation. Second of all, you said like indigenous people burial ground in it. Nope, can't do that. Then you said like you stayed I think it was the second night. You said you stayed was it first or second night you stayed in the master's house room? No, not master, general. You stayed in the general's room.
The general's room, that was the second night.
Yeah, that's a big nope. Then you were talking about the doll room, and I was like, as soon as you said doll room, this is what I imagined. I imagine this little cutesy room that's just full of porcelain dolls that eyes move and follow you wherever you go.
Just like that, only 2 porcelain dolls.
Jesus,
unfortunately you feel the eyes, but it's invisible entities.
Oh man, no, I can't do it. I just can't. That's another nope for me. So
I stayed because I paid for it. I stayed because I'm a dad that hates to waste money.
I feel that 100%.
And my wife was in love with it. Yeah, wife was in love with it, so it's like I couldn't ruin her time. But yeah, it was extremely crazy. It took me over 6 months to recover from the trip.
When you tattooed me and you were telling me, was it still that 6 months period or?
Maybe so, because I went right back to work. I just had to deal with it
because you were like really into like ghost hunting and paranormal stuff. I feel like at that time when I went,
I was into it, but I'll never do it again. I won't mess with it. Now that I've had experiences with ghosts, real ones, and I've felt it, I've kind of seen possession now. I've seen what it's like for them to try to. I know what it's like for them to attach to you because we had something come back with us also. That happens when you go to a place like this and they attach and they really dig your vibe. I forgot to tell you about the mirror. The most haunted object in the world is hanging in that plantation. It's a mirror that's been resilvered like 5 times, and they can't get the hand marks off of it.
Nope.
They took pictures of me in front of it, and 1,000,000,000,000 orbs around me. Like I was engulfed. It was crazy. So yeah, it's so much went down with that, man. I mean, yeah. So I don't want to get into it too much if we're going to use it for material for next week. But
Yeah. I think you had enough just because you had multiple days there, and then the story continues even after you leave. I think it literally. I don't want to rush it because we're closing in on 2 hours on this pod, but I think it's definitely a 2-parter, and then we can definitely deep dive me and Christian into it with questions and like all kinds of stuff.
Well, let's hit it next week. It won't be as much as this time, but it'll be a good little segment.
Heck yes, sounds good. And listeners, whether you're on YouTube or listening on one of the platforms, that was Sinister Tales. All right, boys and girls, that will do it for this episode. Episode 2 in the books. We've got our first 2 episodes. I'm proud of us. We finally are doing the damn thing. I mean, it took us long enough, but we're finally doing it. But I appreciate you all listening. The podcast is available everywhere. Google Podcast, Apple, Spotify, tons of other places, and the live video, well, not live, but the recording of the podcast is live on YouTube. It is live every Wednesday, 8 a.m. Central Time. It is going to be a weekly episodic show as of right now, unless we end up changing it, because we can do that because we're the boss. So how about that? But
That's true.
Gentlemen, would you like to tell everybody where they can find you on social or promote kind of your brands and stuff like that?
Yeah, Papa Ding, hit us up first.
All right. If you want to come see me for your artistic fix, you can check me out at chaddingler.com for your tattoo booking, or find me on Instagram at Papa Ding Art or Papa Ding Tattoo.
Heck yeah. And then you have a podcast as well, correct, sir? You have one you've been working on?
I do. I'm probably going to swindle Christian into getting on there and talking some comic books, and hopefully you too, Sin.
Heck yeah.
But yeah, it's mainly going to be comic book based and entertainment and stuff like that. Awesome. So I've just been toying with it. This production here is very professional. I love how it all went down. So until I get it nailed down like you've done here, we won't promote it too hard.
Okay. All right.
Understandable.
Christian, where can everybody find your lovely self?
All right, guys, where to find me? I am on most of the socials as Vin and Ink. That is V as in Victory, E-N and Ink. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. That's pretty actually. I think that's all the places that you can find me, really, because I don't really use too much else right now. But yeah, I'm there all the time. Come and find me. Come say hi. Come say what's up. Talk to me about the movie stuff. Talk to me about comics. All of my artwork is available on both of those platforms. And of course, you can find me on Sippin With Sin. And that is everywhere.
Heck yeah. And then I'm available on everywhere. You can find IamSinister TV pretty much across the board. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Yeah, everything. TikTok, Hover, whatever. We're there. Brand putting out gaming content as well as other types. You can find the live streams 5 a.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday usually. Over on Facebook Gaming, fb.gg/IamSinisterTV, and then also you can check out the Twitch stream. We do some evening ones every now and then, twitch.tv/IamSinisterTV. But yeah, you can find me there across the board. The podcast, as of right now, is live every Wednesday on my YouTube channel. Just type in IamSinister and it should bring it up. And then you can find all the Sippin With Sin socials on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We have clips from it posted on there, as well as some other things behind the scenes. You may see what we're sipping on, or maybe posting a little more about our host and stuff like that on there. But you can check them out just at Sippin With Sin, and go show them some love. But that's going to do it for episode 2, boys and girls. Appreciate you all listening. If you have made it this far into the almost 2-hour mark, you are a real one, and Christian will give you a crisp high five. How about that? But I hope everyone has a great rest of your day, and thanks for checking out the podcast, and we'll see you guys and gals next week.